Hello and welcome back. Here we have more police falling short in the line of duty, with 7 men who abused schoolgirls aged between 12 and 15. Yes, as in during the time when they would actually be learning about sex at school, given the requirement for national sex education. When they were learning about it, they were then actually experiencing it in quote-unquote truly appalling ways after grooming them by making them feel special, unquote. The girls suffered abuse between the ages of 12 and 15 between 1995 and 2007. Yes. 25 years ago, and they're only just facing justice. Leeds Crown Court heard the girls were targeted by older men in Huddersfield. Let's have a guess for the names. Is it going to be Muhammad and Ali? You better believe it! Abuse often happened in hotel rooms, and the girls would be given drugs. Are they going to face charges for that as well? No, that's just part of their culture, clearly. 7 men have been convicted of raping 2 vulnerable schoolgirls who were groomed by being made to feel special by predators who abused them in truly appalling ways. So the idea of made to feel special basically just means drug them out of their minds so they have no idea what is going on. Yes, predate upon vulnerable young girls who are having a hard time at school, so 50% of them, maybe 80% of them, who are concerned about what their peers are thinking, and therefore more concerned with the social dynamics than actually schoolwork, as we all know that is very strong, and girls are particularly cliquey, and the emotional bullying is stronger among females than with males, so you could pick almost anyone there in order to groom them, and they did. And so when they're saying, oh, you're so stressed, here, take this, it'll relax you. Well, yes it does, because that's what drugs do. They tap you out of reality, and that's where addiction comes from, people being dissatisfied with life. So they did that and plied them with drugs and alcohol, and then raped them. Yeah, they literally stole their childhood. They literally stole what it means to be truly loved and valued from these girls, who will never be able to feel, or what it feels like to be with somebody you love and loves you, and then lead your virginity to them in a truly loving act. That thing which is paramount for every individual has been stolen from these girls by these brutal monsters. So Usman Ali got it in one. Let's play bingo at home for some Arabic names. Banawas Hussein, classic. Abdul Majid, Gul Riaz and 3 other defendants were found guilty today after a 4-week trial at Leeds Crown Court. So it took so long to bloody get them to court. How long did it take to convict? A jury took 12 hours and 49 minutes to convict the men of 12 offences, including rape and indecent assault. 3 of the rapists cannot be named for legal reasons and are said to be sentenced tomorrow morning. Yes, we can't be naming these releases now, can we? So the court heard from prosecutor Kate Batty, who stated the victims were deliberately targeted by older men and had been made to feel special when they gave them alcohol, drugs and cigarettes. So drugs and more drugs. It was said the abuse often took place in cars, hotels and flats, including in a flat belonging to a man who was involved with drugs and had a gun. But no way. Guns are illegal in the UK. How the hell can somebody own a gun? How the hell can gun offences be increasing across England and Wales, even according to the BBC's own statistics? This is truly bizarre, isn't it? It's almost as if when you ban the right to self-defence through firearms, you're then just preventing law-abiding citizens from defending themselves and just giving more power to criminals. And I still maintain that if you were to legalise gun ownership unilaterally, then the rape culture within these Pakistani areas, I think I could agree it's a rape culture in Pakistani areas at least, I've got that on board with the universities, and the grooming gangs that happen from the Muslim rape gangs, I'm pretty sure that would resolve itself within a couple of weeks, maybe a month. But if you legalise guns unilaterally, you would not have an issue there. And if you really wanted to help the people that were affected, the police would understand that after talking to a few people and nobody wanting to say anything, they would understand they just shouldn't look into it, and things would very quickly resolve themselves. So seeing as the government can't do anything about it, because they have handicapped themselves ridiculously by saying we can't do anything against these ethnic minorities, even though the places where they are most prolific, they are not minorities, but they are instead attacking the white English girls who are minorities, but apparently the Pakistanis are still minorities even though statistically they are not, then yes, actually allowing them to defend themselves, and why not training these young ladies in order to defend themselves with firearms, then you would quickly see the rates drop. Yes, you might have 4 big burly men who are horrific in trying to take advantage of a 13-year-old girl, but if that 13-year-old girl is actually armed and knows how to use it, suddenly it becomes a hell of a lot more equal. And just wait till their family hears about what's been happening to them, or their friends, their colleagues, boyfriends, whoever it might be. I can promise you it would not take too long for these men to face justice. Vigilante justice, sure, but it would sure as hell send a message through to anybody else even considering doing something as barbaric to these young ladies, that you will not get away with it. You won't have to wait 25 years. You'd be lucky waiting 25 hours. So Mrs. Batty said the girls would regularly be out of it with drink and drugs, and that the first victim had been introduced to older men by a school friend. She didn't know their names half of the time, or she would know only their nicknames. She was threatened, she was spoken down to, she was intimidated, and she was assaulted. Yes, considering these men think of the girls as literal white trash, you can hardly be surprised by that, given that the Quran even says that you can take sex slaves of the people that you invade and take over. And even when Muhammad's followers were saying, oh, but hang on, taking sex slaves of these people, but like their husbands, they're still alive, what the hell? And Muhammad said, yeah, them too, don't care about the husbands. I mean, if you need to, then kill the husband if it makes you feel better, that's fine, don't worry about it. Yes, because as we all know, Islam is a religion of peace, even though their leader was a paedophilic warlord. Which is of course why the jihadists actually agree with what Tommy Robinson said about the Quran. So yes, if you actually read it in a chronological order, and you say that the oldest bits supersede the earlier bits, and it gets worse and worse as it goes on, then you can understand why people who take literal readings of the Quran, they are fundamentalists, commit these acts of atrocity which do not synergize at all well with the civilized Western world. Hence, we have this rape epidemic, where a conservative estimate is 1 million English girls have been raped over the past 30 years by these Muslim rape gangs. That's what they are. They're not Asian grooming gangs, they're Muslim rape gangs. They are raping girls on the basis of their religion, their ideology, which does not compute with our way of living. But we're not allowed to defend ourselves, because then we're suddenly fucking racist. And yet, as I mentioned in my previous video, apparently the Prime Minister is racist. What? Oh, okay, he's racist against the white girls for letting them be raped? Is that what you're fucking saying? What do you want about? So the young lady was frightened, and she saw absolutely no way out of this life. She added that the youngest had been utterly corrupted, and that she had been made to believe she had no choice but to continue with the lifestyle she had found herself in. The victim's family had tried hard to keep her safe and had sought help from both police and social services on multiple occasions. Yes, you actually try and get the police involved, and what do? Nothing. And do you know why? Because social services eventually told the girl's family that she must love it if she keeps going back. If you want an example of victim blaming, this is a fucking prime example. Yes, this girl who feels threatened and saying that there is no way out of it. So, oh no, she must love it because she keeps going back. So, oh, they're so understanding, social services. I'm glad they're doing their job so well and actually taking care of these young, vulnerable people. I'm not just casting them off as if they're just numbers on a fucking page instead of people with their own bloody emotions and lives. Social fucking services. The second victim was subject to the abuse when she was just 15 years old. The final straw for her was when she was thrown out of a car with her trousers around her ankles, having had sex with 2 or 3 of the men in the car. She can't remember how many. She was drunk and drugged. She was 15 years old. Yes, and that was the final straw. That was it. Had actually gotten to that point at which she went, no, that's probably a bit much. Being thrown out of a car with her trousers around her ankles, having had sex with 2 or 3 men in the car. That was the final straw. Not even going up to that. not having forced sex with any men up to that, not having been drugged and drunk and plied with cigarettes before that. No, none of that was the final straw, but it was actually after having been raped by 2 or 3 men in the car and then thrown out with trousers around her ankles, having absolutely no respect shown to her for what she had just been put through. That was the final straw. How bad do you have to be treated by everybody else and know that there was nobody to turn to you for it to get that bad before it's the final straw? How shit must your life be? How can you have nobody at all that you can talk to think that you have to put up with everything until it gets to that point? How many bloody so-called social services and police must have failed you so that it got to that point? How have the family cohesiveness, how has that been dilapidated so much that it is allowed to get to that point? How can these bloody Muslim rape gangs get away with so much up until this point before they say, no, that's probably enough? How in any sane world, in any sane country, for any self-respecting person can it get to this point? Or even close to this point? Ordinarily, you'd think, you're with someone, they offer you drugs, alcohol and cigarettes, and you think, no, I think he'll pass, I'm only 15. They start touching you inappropriately, like, no, that's enough, I don't think we're going to see each other anymore. How the hell can it get to that point? So, they have several who have been unanimously convicted of rape, or 2 counts of rape, and indecent assault. As well, more rape, and more rape. So finally, it seems that they are facing justice. How long will they actually spend in jail? Well, it will mainly be a suspended sentence, of course, which means they will only spend about half the time in prison, if that. So they won't really be seeing much justice, and then they'll be radicalised even more once they're in prison, because we have a huge fundamentalist Islam problem within prison, which is yet to be tended to. And that was, of course, another thing by imprisoning Tommy Robinson, that he can then actually say, well, yeah, this is actually what's going on in prison and why people are being radicalised more so when they're in prison, and we do need to sort this out, otherwise they're going to come out worse than when they went in. But nonetheless, at least for the sake of, I suppose as Batman would see it, justice has been served. So DCI Richard McNamara of Kirklees District Police said, the men involved in these vile offences have robbed their victims of their childhood and abused them in truly appalling ways. It is difficult to imagine the impact on the victims of the abuse they suffered, but it is clear their courage in reporting what was done to them and in supporting the prosecution has helped some dangerous men off our streets. And let's just hope that it continues that way, because we all know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of men who have yet to be reported upon and have yet to face justice. The guilty verdicts today will hopefully be a milestone for them in seeing those responsible begin to pay for what they have done, as will the forthcoming sentences of these individuals. And they say that our thoughts remain with them. Yes, it would have been nice if you could have acted a hell of a lot earlier. It would be nice if you could do more than just have thoughts for them, as I'm sure you can imagine that something as traumatic as this, that of course your life was in such a shit place that you thought this was acceptable, and then realising that you've been played for a fool for so long, that is going to take bloody years of therapy, and you may very well never truly recover. And of course it's going to be increasingly difficult when trying to find a male partner to explain that, oh yes, I would love to be with you and have children with you, and but by the way, my first few dozen sexual encounters were being raped by Muslim rape gangs. Yes, of course people are going to sympathise with that, but would they want a relationship with someone who has been through that kind of trauma? I mean, no, of course not, because they would be thinking what's best for their children. So these women face an almost impossible challenge ahead of them, because the police, the government, the Labour councils have let them down. They've let them down for years and years and years. In fact, in these places, for decades. And when it was mentioned to them, they thought, yeah, let's just cover it up instead of actually address the issue. So we can only hope that there'll actually be some hope, some help for these ladies. Hopefully they can find meaning in their life by calling out for other people and feel happy within themselves that after the experience that they've gone through, they can help this be prevented. Well, they can help stop it for thousands of other girls, and they can help prevent it for millions more to come. let us hope that they take their mission that way. They take it positive, and they don't. Well, let's just hope that they keep hope. They know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. They know that people want to support them, and we hope that they get the help they need. And let's hope that these men who are responsible for this spend no longer on this planet than they absolutely must. Until next time, have a good one.